The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, Earnestly Speaking podcast. Let's get it. I'm a giant in New York, in Miami carry heat. So much more in store, my product can flood the street. Opinion Nation Godfather, CEO. Puff in the late 90s, gon' see me blow. Oh, got my hustle on, no imitation of that. Army of untouchables, Opinion Nation staff. Never an off season, homie, check the numbers. Heart throbbing my own right, supplying southern comfort. Earnestly speaking, my ego is well fed. Earnestly speaking, you're too evil and no threat. See, I'm like a hurricane, you're a mild breeze. Earnestly speaking, leaving Eli a dynasty. Shake!
Earnestly Podcast coming to you May 31st, 2024. It is the last day of May. I can't believe tomorrow, as we get back, here it goes on the screen. Sorry about that. I can't believe we're almost a half year into the year 2024. This has probably been, for me anyway, I know it's just, and honestly, I feel like this since COVID, since pandemic, that the idea of time, I've lost track of that. Like, the fact that COVID was literally 4 years ago, it still shocks me. Like, there are times it feels like it was like yesterday, but yeah, it wasn't. It was 4 years ago. It's literally almost half a decade ago. But yeah, we are now approaching June. Summertime is here, for me anyway, with my kids. They're out of school as yesterday. Today, they actually spent the day in Disney World with the wife. I didn't get to go, unfortunately. I had to stay home and work and make some money for the family. But luckily, they went with my wife's best friend and her daughter, her mom as well too. So they had a good time. They're actually on the way back home now, so I'm trying to get this in now while I can. Don't want this to be a very long podcast. I want to be quick and easy. I will say though, I've been feeling burnt out lately, with things at home, which I'll get to that in a second. But I think after the finals are over, I think I'm going to take a little break from this a little bit, like to kind of slow down a little bit. But we've been going at it with the show and all the shows I do on platforms for a little while now, and I don't know if it's because of personal things here at home. I also, summertime, I want to spend more time with my kids. The wife and I schedule don't change really during the summer. We still have to do the same thing, same jobs doesn't change, all that. So my kids are gonna be home, so there's gonna be a lot more time I need to invest into them. So we'll see how the schedule goes into the summer. Typically, I do slow down a little bit during the summer. Of course, the NBA Finals is coming up in next Thursday, actually, Game 1, and we'll have that at least through the middle of June, and then after that, things definitely wind down a lot. Although I will say, some of my favorite shows we've recorded in this podcast through the years have been during the off season. Actually, like it's been like, for example, we have special podcast episodes built in. You might do a something like off the beaten path, non-sports topic here. Some good topics. We got a lot to talk about. This summer, so we'll see how things play out. But like I said, I've been feeling a little bit on the burn side, and I might say so much the podcast, but things in general. I know my niece is gonna be here during the summer too, especially when we're watching them most of the summer. In fact, all the summer for that matter. We got a couple things, we're planning as a family to do. Hopefully we get to do those things. Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. But summer vacation here, I actually hate summer, to be honest with you. Not because of the kids being home from school. It's kind of fun sometimes. I mean, I know by the time I get to the end of summer, I'm gonna be happy back at school. But being a dad, look, this is all temporary, man. They only get older every year, and at some point they're gonna forget about you and do their own thing and all that. And before you know it, they're young adults, and then they're adults, and before you know it, you're on your own. That kind of thing. But yeah, summertime's here, and we'll see how that goes, and should be very fascinating time. We're like I said, working on some activities for the summer, and I know we got a possible trip planned to Tennessee. Hopefully, it's not official yet though, but hopefully go to Tennessee for a good a long weekend that we have planned. We'll see how that plays out though. Anyway, that's just that. Let's see. NBA Finals. It's official. Mavs, Celtics. Again, raise your hand if you had the Mavs and Celtics as your NBA Finals prediction. Now, the Boston end of it, not a surprise. In fact, I had Boston not only just going to the finals this year, I, in fact, had the Celtics winning the whole thing this year. But I'm a little on the fence on that right now because they have not faced any resistance in the playoffs. One can argue, I've been saying before, that the East Conference Finals right now, even though they swept Indiana in the conference finals, one can argue that the Pacers could be easily up 3-1, at worst 2-2 series. And that's also the fact that the best player, Tyrese Halliburton, didn't play half the series. Okay. Boston's faced no resistance. Very little resistance, should I say. Jimmy Butler missing the entire series because the Heat in the first round. Then you have second round of playoffs. Donovan Mitchell misses a chunk of the series as well, too. Okay. And of course, that's the Halliburton missing the conference finals, the last thing in the conference finals. Now, again, not to say that Boston wouldn't be here anyway, but they faced no adversity in the playoffs, and it's not their fault. You know, it is what it is. You can't control who you play in the circumstances you fall into. Sometimes luck comes. Sometimes luck is involved. Sometimes you do get lucky, and you're able to find the easier path to the championship. There's a lot of teams through the years that we don't think about it because in hindsight, because it's been so long ago that context will matter. I spoke about this in the last solo episode we did back in, I think back on Tuesday, that you can't control it. Boston can't control that. But this is also why I believe this is a title bust for them. Now, as far as predictions for the series, Boston won both meetings this year, first off. I don't know where I stand. Like I'm kind of leaning Dallas, but I don't know. Right now, you have Luka and Kyrie playing on another level right now, on a lot of conversations right now about them being the greatest, or most talented backcourt in history of basketball. Pump the brakes on that, folks. I like to pump brakes on that a little bit. I just think that we're looking at a situation where, first of all, get a ring. If they get a title, we have a conversation. But in terms of better backcourts, I mean, you're talking about Clay and Steph. You go to the State, the Warriors. You're talking about Dumars and Isaiah. The Pistons won 2 titles. You're talking about even Walt Frazier and who missed the other guy? Sherman, I think it is? Not Sherman. Or Earl Monroe. Pearl Monroe. You know, you got Bob Cousy in his backcourt. There's a lot of great backcourts. But this is what I will say about the conversation about Luka and Kyrie in terms of the backcourt, conversation that's been going on in the media right now. I will agree that in terms of actual offensive talent, there's never been anything better. You got 2 guys that can hit 30 points at any given time, and do it almost on a regular basis. Kyrie Irving essentially could do that as well too. Luka, what he's doing. There's a lot of legacy things too also in this series to play out, and obviously we'll have a lot of time to talk about this in a week leading up to the series. Luka going for his first title. Basically, we're going to have a situation where Jason Tatum or Luka Doncic will get the first NBA championship, and that's going to be something to behold. Jason Tatum, to me, I've always said that he's a fringe top 5 guy. One could argue this entire trek to the finals, he has been the best player, at least consistently anyway. Jaylen Brown's had moments. Derek White's had moments, of course. Drew Holiday's had moments. Now, Tatum obviously has been consistent. We're not saying he's been playing bad. But what I've been saying for the last couple of years in this podcast is that Jason Tatum, this isn't. He gets started, like, for example, game 4. I think he had 30, 10, and 8, whatever it was. Something like that. A great game. But it never felt like he owned that game. It never felt like he put a stamp on that game. It's funny. The talent on Tatum is amazing. It's just that when it comes to the dog, I keep saying the dog in him. I always said if you gave Jason Tatum Jimmy Butler's heart, for example, the guy's probably the best player in basketball. That's why I can't put him in the top 3. That's why I have a hard time putting him in the top 5, because there's something missing. And I'm curious if we'll see that Tatum in this series. But maybe this is who he is. That he's a great player that's just not, he's a finesse guy, and there's no other level to get to. I don't know. But that's just me. But I will say, in terms of predictions, like, I don't have one right now, honestly. I'm leaning Dallas, but I don't know. That doesn't go either way. Dallas is, they have dogs. And this team has been one of, if not the best defensive team in basketball since the All-Star break. This team has changed its identity since the All-Star break. You saw it in these series against the Clippers, against OKC, against Minnesota. And Luka and Kyrie are putting in the work now on the end. Here's what I'll say: we expect to see Kristaps Porzingis for the Celtics in this series. He hasn't played a lick of basketball since Game 3 of the first round, and they've held him back. I mean, he's had opportunities to come back, and they've held him back because they really need him. Boston's been winning these series in spite of him not being there. But I do think this is the series they're going to need him. And to me, if Porzingis is at least 75% healthy for this series, that would be monstrous for the Celtics. I think if KP is at least 3/4 healthy for this series, I do think the Celtics win the series. But again, we don't know. And again, it's a calf injury, which that can go either way. A calf injury could affect other things if he's not careful. So I don't know. I'm leaning Dallas right now, but come Tuesday or Wednesday, and obviously we other podcasts we do prior to we do another podcast or two probably before the series starts. I'll have an official prediction. So give me about 5 days to bake this in. Let's see the injury report. Let's see how that plays out. But right now I'm leaning Dallas in 7, but I'm not sure yet. I'm not entirely sure yet. So Game 1 is on Thursday next week. And it should be a fun series. Both teams I'm not necessarily fans of because, I mean, if you're a Miami Heat fan, you know damn well, obviously the Boston-Miami rivalry has been going for quite a while now. You don't have to speak on that one. But, hell, even the Dallas-Miami, we've had a rivalry with Dallas since 2006. We've met them twice in the finals, So there's some bad blood there. As a Heat fan, yeah, I'm speaking on that. But we'll see. It should be a fun series. You got great players and Kyrie and Luka and Tatum and Brown and Porzingis and PJ Washington's playing great in the playoffs. We'll see how it plays out. But I'll give my official prediction on that series next week on one of the upcoming episodes we do prior to Game 1 of the series. So, all right, let's talk a little bit Donald Trump here. Donald Trump convicted on 34 counts yesterday of his campaign finance case, hush money case in New York. A case I really didn't follow honestly in detail because, quite frankly, most people don't care about this case. I don't care about this case honestly. The case I care about really is the stuff in Georgia, the election fraud case and all that stuff. But a lot of people are saying that him, it's a lot on both sides, especially too. People are happy that, if you hate Trump, they're happy he got convicted and this and that. And we'll see a jail cell. We'll see how that plays out. Sentencing's actually on July 11th, I think. But then you have people on the MAGA side who's also think this is a witch hunt and that, Joe Biden and his administration, his DOJ, Department of Justice has weaponized the situation. Certainly the optics look kind of weird because it's during election season and all this stuff. And it's in New York, and New York is more blue. I mean, first off, I always tell folks who are pro-Trump, take away the emotion, take away the partisanship of the whole thing. You shouldn't be surprised that Donald Trump, at a simple level, has been kind of a shady individual when it comes to business. This is something we've all known. We've all known about Donald Trump for decades. We talk about before he even entered the political spectrum. So the fact that things like this happened should not be a surprise. Okay, it shouldn't be a surprise. He's been caught with this kind of stuff on a minor level for years. So you shouldn't be surprised about this. Now, is there a case to be made that this is also a political witch hunt? I'm not going to rule it out. I'm not going to rule it out at all. I'm not going to sit and say Democrats are white pants, Democrats are angels and white pants clean. No, I'm not going to say that. No, they're perfect. And I've asked that question too to people even on the left. Do you think, aside from your bias of not liking Donald Trump and all that, is there a possibility that Democrats actually have a hand in this situation politically and wanted this to happen so that it hurts his political chances, election chances rather, in November. And some people even said, yeah, I could definitely see that. And some of them don't care. They say, yeah, and so what? That kind of thing. Whatever. That's their opinion. But a lot of people do think that this actually might energize his base, and it kind of has. And if you're to believe what he said today on what's that, Truth Social, supposedly in just 24 hours he has raised upwards of $53 million in campaign dollars since yesterday over this thing. Do you believe the number? Do you believe him? I don't. It's Donald Trump. I don't know. Does this hurt him politically? I don't think it hurt him politically because I don't think this case is going to move the needle either way. I think the people who were pro-Trump and anti-Trump before and after this case are already staunch into their camps. I think the middle, the folks who may say this case may sway their vote, it's a very small number. What, 10% or left? That's maybe. Okay. And then you have Joe Biden, who has his own issues now because of the whole situation in Gaza, which canceled out, which kind of in some ways canceled out also too. So I don't think this case is going to have as much of an impact on November as you think. If anything, like I said, it'll embolden Trump's borders. It will also embolden people who are anti-Trump. That's all I'll say about that. So I don't think this specific case will have a massive effect on his political future. But that's just my opinion. That's my opinion. And again, I keep telling folks who are pro-Trump, who are saying this is a witch hunt, where's the proof? The same thing you can say about election fraud. Election fraud. Okay, I'm all ears. Where's the proof? And they went to court. We had 64 different cases of election fraud, which were all brought to the Supreme Court, a Donald Trump Republican-led Supreme Court, and all said it was, quite frankly, bullshit. So I'm all ears if there's shady shit going on either way. But you have to prove it. You can't just say things and then get mad when you don't have proof. That's all I'm saying. If there's proof about this kind of stuff, please bring it out. Otherwise, shh, keep quiet. So I'll see about that. But we'll see. Again, sentencing is July 11th. I don't think he's going to jail. I know. I heard that the each of these counts, there's 34 counts by the way, it could be each holds 1 to 3 years in jail. But I just don't I just don't see this guy going to jail. I just don't. Prove me wrong. I don't know. Prove me wrong. So we'll see if this plays out. This is clearly not over yet. This case. I mean, this case is done, but you got the sentencing next month, or in July rather. Still got the Georgia case, which may not go off before the election itself. Who knows? All right, one last thing we got out of here. I'm gonna keep this relatively short. So I opened the show talking about these things and feeling stressed out and feeling all that. Think about the future too, especially with for me and my family and just things. Like for example, at work, for example, my job, my day job, which I've been working there now 21 years, or close to 21 years, in August. A lot of things been happening there, in terms of not so much what affected me personally, but around me. Things have been kind of like in terms of layoffs and stuff, full-time employees being laid off around us. Luckily, I'm not a full-time employee, so it doesn't really affect me. But things been happening around there with the work, which has been kind of a bit sad. Very sad, to be honest. People lose their jobs for no reason. Doesn't matter. It's still a sad thing. 401ks have been, they stopped matching 401ks on my job for a couple weeks ago, and they say it's temporary. We'll see how that plays out. A couple things been happening there. We're getting into the slow season now, especially doing the job. And it's made me think a lot about the future, about what I could be doing or should be doing, and in the months to come and years to come. I mean, look, I've been in this place for 21 years now, and I love this place. This is like family, and I don't want you to think about leaving this place to try something new, a new career. At 44 years old, I don't really the prospect of starting over is scary to me. I'm not gonna lie. Change for me is not something I do well with. I don't do well with change. I do well with familiar surroundings, repetition. It is not easy for me to approach change, but I know it's healthy too. Also, I know it's healthy. I'm not saying that I'm leaving my job or this and that, but I do have those thoughts sometimes that if things get to the point where it comes down to where they start cutting, us, what then what? I don't think it'll happen that way. I'm praying to God it doesn't happen that way because I love where I work at. And then you also have the physical part too. Also, I've been saying for years that the one thing about my job that's hard for me is the physical part. I deal poker, and I've been dealing poker for 11 years now. I love doing it. I make good money doing it. But at the same time, it's also physically demanding on my back, on my neck, especially, and on my fingers and my hands. So it's something I have to start getting close to reality with. And then on top of that, my wife, who is not employed there, does work there in the building with a separate company that's in the building. So we're all affected by this stuff. We're all affected. We're all feeling people who've lost their jobs. But again, and I'm not saying nothing's going to happen in the near future with me and my family, but it has sparked conversation with my wife and I about what's next for us. Is there the thought of let's try something new in the future, or at least attempt something new in the future? I know my sister has told me that I should get involved in tech. She's involved in tech. She's been involved in tech for the last couple of years now. It makes good money doing it. And I don't necessarily need to go to college. I just need a certification. And I know with tech, for example, she's told me that entry level for tech right now is between you can make 60 to 80K to start off a year. And again, it sounds intriguing, but I feel lost. Like you do tech, okay, cool, but what do you do? Like what is entailed in it? What so because I've been doing this so long now that I feel like okay, I feel lost. So I feel like if I were to leave this company, for example, what's next? What would I do? I feel lost because I've been here so long. I mean, I started working this job at 23 years old. Before I met my wife, before I had kids, the whole nine. I was literally in a band playing music, and I got this job because I need something just to. I had plans to go to college at the time, and I was gonna. This job was just there just to facilitate an income while I was going to college and doing music, and all of a sudden this became a very large part of my life. Not because of monetary, but also the friendships I made there through the years. I mean, my kids know people, my friends at my job, my coworkers have become good friends of mine. It's not easy. So I'm not saying that I'm leaving or there's a threat of leaving and all that. I don't think it's going to happen. But I'm just saying that these thoughts have come through now. The idea of like the future, think about the future, what's next, and trying to stay ahead of the curb. You don't want any surprises either. They lay you off out of nowhere, and then what? So that's just I'm just saying that's been the thoughts of my mind. And again, we're actually going to summertime is typically slow season for us, so we do slow down a little bit. Money gets a little tighter now because again you're not making the same income. Because remember, I'm a team employee, so it's a little different. So you got to batten down hatches a little bit out here at home too, especially but also try to find things like, for example, for the kids, summer vacation and all that, finding activities for them to do that are cost friendly because they're going to be home every day now for the next 10 weeks. And we also want to do, if the trip plays out, like I said, we have this trip to plan in Tennessee later this summer. We're hoping it's going to go through. We're still waiting for the official word on that. And that's a couple $1,000 right there. So you have that. So it's a lot to think about. A lot of process. Just think, if you listen to the podcast and just pray for us and keep us in our thoughts. Keep us in your thoughts and all that. So that's all in my mind. And I think that's part of the reason why I've been so stressed out also too and burnt out is I tend to overthink a lot about things. Because again, I'm a guy that if my repetition is somewhat, if it's interrupted by my stuff, it throws me off. I have a very straight line way of thinking. I have this to do. I budget. I do this and this in this order, and when it changes, it throws me off. So, but we'll see. Like I said, that too also, and maybe also the podcast maybe too. I do look. This is a hobby. I do make some money on the podcast. Yes, I do. I'll confess that. Not enough to quit my job, and it's not the main thing. This podcast is not the main thing. It is something I love, and I love to make it a priority, but not to the point where it's ahead of my family and not ahead of income and other things. So I've had to process that too, also about how much time in the show I've been putting in lately. Is too much. Should we put more time into other possible career opportunities, or more time with my children and more time with my wife and other things? That's what I struggle with all the time. That's the future. That's the about the future, and think about everything broadly. And it's tough. It really is, because this show, a lot of ways, is for me. I've said before, this show's therapy to me. It's a lot of therapy. So, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. It's a weekend. I don't want to end this on a low note, but it's a weekend. The weather's so hot, But I'm on Twitter /X at EJ Christian 7. We'll be back probably next week with episodes or two. And then we'll see how it goes after the finals. So, talk to you guys later. God bless y'all. Take care, stay up, and we'll talk later.